Hello, and welcome to the Intelligence Hack on Brand Safety and Suitability. I'm Jenny Lang, Senior Vice President at Kinesso Strategic Initiatives.
And I'm Kevin Bowers, Vice President, Kinesso Marketplace Solutions here in New York. Today, we're going to present an overview on brand safety and suitability. These are the main areas we'll focus on for this presentation: brand safety and suitability, ad fraud, what is being done today in the industry, and Kinesso's approach to brand safety. So, what is brand safety? Well, before we can answer that, we need to better understand the importance of a brand. IBG works with some of the world's leading brands who put in a lot of effort to demonstrate their value and establish trust with people for their products. For a brand, there is nothing more important. Brand safety means employing strategies and controls to protect brands against being associated with harmful, dangerous types of content or criminal activity that can hurt a brand's values or reputation. The industry has established a brand safety floor for the type of content to avoid, which includes adult and explicit sexual content, arms and ammunition, hate speech, death, injury, or military conflict, online piracy, obscenity and profanity, illegal drugs, tobacco, and alcohol, spam or harmful content, terrorism, sensitive social issues, and crime and harmful acts to individuals and society, human rights, and violations. All of these are important for all brands for brand safety.
Next, we'll talk about brand suitability. This makes sure the brand is appearing on a website that aligns with the brand's business goals and audience, and it's in the right context. Now let's look at an example. The website The Chive would not be blocked in our baseline brand safety standards, but for some brands, this is simply not suitable. Let's take the brand Huggies. They may block this site as unsuitable, but the gaming brand Call of Duty would find this perfectly appropriate for the brand and their audience. Here's how to think about the difference between brand safety and brand suitability. Brand safety's core function is to protect the brand from harmful content and illegal activity. Brand suitability's function is to align the brand with content and placements that meet an individual brand's values.
So let's look at the scale of the problem. Ad fraud is one of the biggest challenges facing publishers, advertisers, and companies today. But no one really knows how much revenue is lost to ad fraud. Estimates range from $9 billion to $50 billion a year globally, depending on which research study you use. With programmatic revenue worldwide at $120 billion in 2020, this range means that ad fraud can affect from 10% to 30% of ad revenue. In a recent study, digital media professionals see programmatic media as the media type that puts brands most at risk, followed closely by social media. And ad fraud incidents for brands have been well documented over the past few years. Ad fraud from CTV has come more into the spotlight as more people consume video through connected television.
And consumers care. They care where a brand is and if it's associated with negative content. In this study by Chex, Magna, and IPG Media Lab, they set out to quantify the effects of unsafe exposure on consumer and brand perceptions. So the results are that consumers are less willing to associate with the brand in that negative content area. Their purchase intent is stifled. They're less likely to feel the brand cares about them. They're less likely to feel the brand is in the know. Consumers' brand quality perception drops, and they're less likely to recommend the brand. So let's talk about the components of brand safety and suitability. There's 4 areas here that we're going to dig into each of those deeper. So fraud is when an impression is counted but not really actually seen by a person. Disinformation is when an ad appears next to a story that is just completely incorrect. Content adjacency is really defining the right contextual environment for brand based upon its values. And viewability is where a measurable ad impression can be seen by a consumer on a web page. So let's dig into the types of ad fraud first. There's 5 different types, which we're going to talk about in detail. So there's ad stacking, pixel stuffing, click farms, fraudulent bots, and domain spoofing. So the first one is ad stacking. Ad stacking is where mobile apps or websites stack multiple ads beneath one another in a single ad placement. Now, only the top ad is visible with its impression actually served, but multiple advertisers are being billed for this impression. If a user clicks the top ad, a click will be registered for all the ads on that stack. So the next one is pixel stuffing. This is the process of serving one or multiple ads in a single 1x1 pixel frame so the ad can't be seen. And then we move on to click farms. So click farms are businesses that pay employees to manually click on advertising banners, links, social media pages, and other website elements. And then there's fraudulent bots. So this is where a robot pretends to be a legitimate visitor on a web page and clicks on the ad, a button, or another type of link. The goal of the click fraud is to trick a platform or service into thinking real users are interacting with a web page, ad, or app. And the last one in the fraud category where we will discuss is domain spoofing. So this is where an HTML or an ad request that attempts to represent a site, device, or something else rather than the actual placement. This tricks advertisers and ad exchanges into thinking the inventory is legitimate.
Another component of brand safety is disinformation. The trend of online disinformation, otherwise known as fake news, has been dominating news headlines since 2016, with no signs of slowing down. Sites that provide false or misleading information can put brands at risk. Many brands don't realize they are on these sites until it is called out by consumers and gets attention from the media. Disinformation is a difficult problem to solve, and the industry has shown it can at times overcorrect the problem with excessive measures. Last year, conventional brand safety platforms blocked $3 billion from reaching the news media. Content adjacency is another component of brand safety. Marketers must be aware of their ads environment. When consumers see offensive or inappropriate content, it has the potential to shift their perceptions of the brands whose ads are displayed nearby the content. This happens particularly around news, social, and user-generated content. In the example being shown here, American Express would need to be cautious of their ad with content around the coronavirus. A positive placement is around content that discusses how small businesses are succeeding during the quarantine. A placement adjacent to a story discussing looting that is taking place could be negative.
Viewability is another important element that advertisers need to take into consideration. Now, many brands may have their own parameters for viewability based upon specific business goals, but on this slide, you will see the IAB and MRC established standards. So those are, for video, 50% of the ad placement in view for at least 2 continuous seconds, display, 50% for 1 second, and then large format, 30% for at least 1 second. So we talked about all the elements that can affect a brand. Now we will focus on what's being done to help with brand safety and suitability in the marketplace.
Today's digital ecosystem is complex, and brand safety is something that needs to be addressed across all of it for all parties to be successful. Many of the same companies that help with brand safety are being used on both the supply side and demand side to prevent invalid traffic and fraud from corrupting the ecosystem. Ad verification companies help brands ensure their ads are in brand safe and brand suitable environments. They have software that can prevent invalid and fraudulent traffic from getting into the supply or prevent a brand's ad from appearing if thresholds that brands set are not met. Listed here are just some of the third-party companies that brands, agencies, DSPs, and SSPs use to monitor for brand safety. Some specialize in key areas to detect malware, fraud, and invalid traffic, while others focus on viewability and content like news. Many of these companies offer the ability for brands to contextually target their ads to the page content. IAS and Double Verify are two of the largest, but brands can decide which companies work best based upon their needs.
There are several industry groups working to set standards across the industry. So TAG is the leading global group focused on fighting criminal activity. 4A's has formed the Advertiser Protection Bureau for advertising agencies to align on standards and enforce efforts in the marketplace for brand safety. The WFA and GARM are both global networks which offer a source of leadership and expertise for brand safety. MRC assures information provided by a vendor is reliable and valid. It has a number of auditing programs for audience measurement and an accreditation program for vendors. And last, IAB Tech Lab brings publishers and agencies together to focus on ad tech standards.
Ads.txt, or Authorized Digital Sellers, is an initiative developed out of the IAB Tech Lab designed to improve transparency by allowing publishers to declare who is authorized to sell their inventory. It is a public text file publishers post on their root domain to identify who sells their inventory directly and who sells it indirectly. Indirect sellers are also called resellers. So how does Kinesso help with brand safety? The Kinesso Marketplace team is here to help lead on brand safety across Kinesso, Matterkind, and Media Brands. We do this by managing the foundational brand safety programs across clients. This includes the development and maintenance of company inclusion and exclusion lists, advisory services, and thought leadership on technology platforms and other industry topics.
And let's dig a little deeper into Kinesso's approach to brand safety. We have a 6-pronged approach that can be customized for each client. So the first area is discovery and provider evaluations, where we dig into a client's program that's currently running. The second one is where we design the program, we negotiate with the providers, and then we set them up. The third area is list development, distribution, and platform integration. The fourth area is where we make sure everything is running correctly in compliance management. The fifth area is where we make sure performance is hitting our KPIs and deliver insights. And then the last area is ongoing program management.
Kinesso is building a brand safety and suitability toolkit that can help provide more context around ad verification vendors, lists for inclusion, exclusion, and keywords, suitability categories, brand categories, contextual targeting, brand compliance for policies and regulations, and ads.txt. So here are the key takeaways from today's presentation. Brand safety is crucial for all clients. Brand suitability is part of brand safety and determined by an individual brand.
We learned the ecosystem is complex and there is no perfect all-in-one solution to solve for brand safety. Kinesso can work with agencies to help with brand safety processes and solutions for any brands. And this wraps up our intelligence hack on brand safety. We thank you for taking the time to watch today.
For more information, questions, or working with Kinesso Marketplace team, please contact us at marketplace@kinesso.com. Thanks.
Bye.